And the practical starting point to create learning experiences that are engaging, purposeful, and hopefully enjoyable across a variety of environments is, are you ready? Chunk your content. Now, I know I've said this before, but it's a super simple but highly effective approach. Let me explain more. Oh, and before I go into it, we might have learning designers or instructional designers watching that are shouting at the screen. That's not the starting point to learning design. You need to start with clear, measurable learning outcomes that are aligned to appropriate assessment, and then select content that meets both these learning outcomes and support the journey to the assessment. And they'd be right to shout that. But my advice is always to start with something manageable, achievable, build confidence, and then tackle the heavy lifting or more complex aspects later. Otherwise, we can get stuck in a perfectionism paralysis. That's not good. Okay, so we're going to move forward with learning design by chunking our content. But what does it look like and why is it useful? As mentioned, it's not something super complicated and involves you visualizing your teaching session and breaking it down into a series of components or chunks. The smaller your chunks, the more flexibility it will give you. And to help with this process, I usually create what I call a visual learning design. So I look at a session and I identify the elements of direct instruction, assessment, and learning activities that I believe will meet my learning outcomes for the session. Going through this process is a very reflective exercise because straight away when you visualize your session in this way, you can start to see where the majority of your time is being spent. We know that we don't want to be talking at our learners for large amounts of time because this leads to passive learners who are not engaged in higher order thinking. So when I see that huge red block, I can start to think about how am I going to purposely break that down? How am I going to change the flow of this session to become more engaging? Where is the opportunity here for an active learning activity? How will I assess the learner's understanding on the content that I've covered? And again, when I do see a red block of direct instruction, I start asking myself, is that something I can turn into self-directed learning? Maybe I can turn it into a video or assign some reading or create a micro-learning e-course that delivers the same information. Essentially what I'm thinking is, can I put the emphasis and ownership back onto the students? Just this first step of visualizing the chunks of your session can then lead to other questions. Maybe I could change my pedagogical approach. If I'm going to digitize some of this direct instruction, then do I change how and where it's delivered? Can I employ something like a flipped learning approach? If so, then what active and engaging collaborative learning opportunities can we have during the session time? How can I see and show learners where they are in the learning process? All of these questions started from me visualizing the chunks of my session. You can start this quick and easy approach to learning design right now. Maybe you'll just develop one chunk at a time and slowly, incrementally redesign your session and course over a manageable time frame. Whatever you decide, this purposeful approach will provide you and your learners with an improved learning experience. So in this video, we've covered what chunking is in relation to your approach to learning design, why it works to improve the experience and outcomes of your learners will be covered in the next video.